Alrighty, next section of the book they talk about implementing subnets. This will be one of the last labs we actually do in our room on subnetting. We'll do some planning, we'll do some problems, then we're going to turn around and make our own network map with our own IP scheme and make it work. So this will be one of the last labs we do, but the book actually kind of gives you a good ballpark on how to do it. So we'll go through that and I'll add some pieces to it to help you understand what they're doing. So after subnetting network, how do you apply them to network for use? Okay, so let's take our Class C network. Again, let's take a Class C network. We'll make our chart of IPs and see how they start getting used. Okay, so Class C network, I need 6 subnets, so I'm going to borrow 3 bits. If I borrow 3 bits, I'm going to get 8 subnets. 2 to the 3 is going to give us 8 subnets. If I borrow 3 bits, right here, I'm left with 5. So 2 to the 5 in the host for the host portion. 2 to the 5 is going to give us 32 addresses per subnet, of which 30 are usable. My subnet mask will be 255.255.255.224 or a/27. Okay, that's all the background work or planning work we've done before. Now that I have all that, again, I'm going to look at this interesting bit. 128.64.32 place, so things are going to go up by a factor of 32. So I will make my little subnetting chart here, 032.64.96 for the network number. Other end of the range, 31. This starts at 32, so this has to end at 31. I will put the other end of my range on the other column over here, my broadcast number column, my broadcast address column. And the usables will be in the middle. Okay, one more, 1 to 30, and that is one less than a broadcast. Okay, so there is my chart of my network numbers, usables, and broadcast addresses. Now that I have that, I can actually start using these numbers to apply to my network. Now, the book gave us an example like so, and they kind of have a part we filled in for us. So now that we've subnetted our Class C, we can see, all right, they're taking the 0 subnet here, they're taking the 32 subnet here, and the 64 subnet here. They're saying, okay, this is like Main Street, Maple Street, Oak Street. Here's my streets, and we're labeling them 64 subnet, 32 subnet, 89 subnet. And I'm taking the first usable IP. Okay, let me back up here real quick. From the 64 subnet right there, the first usable IP is 65. That is going to get assigned to the gateway. 65 right there is my gateway IP. That's the address of the router. So that first usable IP the router is going to get, then workstations, printers, other stuff would get addresses after that. This computer might be .66, printer .67, this workstation .68, this one .69, and so forth. And all of these would have numbers from the 64 subnet pointing to the 65 gateway to get out of the network. And the same thing would be true down here in the 32 network, 33 gateway, 0 network, 1 as the gateway. That's how you start applying these in a network setting. And they give you a bigger example here. And if you take a real quick look, you'll see the 0 subnet here, 32 subnet here, 64 subnet here, 96, 128, 160. I have plenty of subnets. I can start applying them to wings of my building, floors of my building, departments of my building, etc. And that's how I start actually using my subnet numbers or my subnets that I've created. That's how I start implementing. We're going to do that exact same thing in our network, in our lab with our own routers and switches to make our own network, our own subnetted IP scheme network. The admin then would need to assign and configure the IP addresses on the router ports and then for the nodes. So they would need to configure these on the routers, which you have done, configure those IP addresses on, and then configure the IP addresses on the workstation statically, which again you have done. Or the nodes on the network, you could have a DHCP server that would hand out IP addresses in this pool, the 32 pool. So 33, 34, 35, 36, and so forth. And that can be done. You could configure the router to do that for you, or place a DHCP server on that network or part of the network and have it do it for you. We will do that later this semester as we do more router config. We'll configure the router to be a DHCP server and hand out IP addresses. That's something we'll work in later. Alrighty, so there's how we implement our subnets.